My name is Luca Rogers, and this is my presentation on the City Council civil engagement. Before we start, I'd like to apologize in advance if you hear background noises. My cat has decided that he wants to just obliterate my Christmas tree, and he will not stop jumping in and out of it. So just be warned, and so let's get right into this. Now, I chose this background for a reason. I'm not living in America right now. I'm living in Canada, and I'm actually from Detroit, Michigan. So I am not used to living in the country, in the countryside, in the middle of the woods, and the entire province in which I live in is basically a big forest. So I thought this was fitting. We're talking about where it's held. It was held in St. John, which is on the southern coast of New Brunswick, Canada. And on my next slide, I'll show you a picture of it and show you where it is in North America. Fun fact, I just learned about this. It's the oldest city in Canada. And I've highlighted some of the important things, obviously, so we can read them a little easier. Founded in 1785, so more than 200 years ago. Almost 250, would it be? It would be 250 soon. Population is 67,000 people, and that is considered a lot. That's considered a lot for this province. The province itself only has 700,000 people. Detroit, the city, like just the city, has over 700,000, and the Detroit metro area, the city surrounding it, has over 5 million people. So I'm not used to, cities that only have 70,000 people. This is as of the last census, and obviously this is only the people who live in St. John. It's known for its rich maritime history. It's a major port in the region. Ferry boats and big ships that contain all those containers, they always come through. So it's if you've ordered something from anywhere, it's probably gone through, St. John's port. It's huge. And also, it's a vibrant cultural scene. I work sometimes in St. John doing carpentry and electrical, and it is always got cruise ships. Always has cruise ships. So it brings in a lot of money through tourists. And the economy is driven by shipbuilding, so it's on the water, oil refining, marine services, and it also has a technology sector and is known for tourism and heritage sites because it's old. It's an old city. Moving on. Here's North America, right? I'm from Detroit, from the Mitten State, right? You, the teacher, or the college Urshan, would be about here. Kansas City is west of St. Louis, and St. Louis is it's right there. This right here is Maine. It's almost the northernmost state besides Alaska. And if you can see this right here, it says Fredericton. That's the capital of New Brunswick. Here it is. Here's Maine, and let's moving over here. Here's Maine as well. Here's the whole province. I live right about here, next to this body of water. And actually, all these the bodies of water, they don't stop. They actually all go all throughout. Like I live on a bay right now. I mean, I live in a cabin. I live in a cabin in the middle of the woods, and I'm actually looking out right now at a window in my house, and I can see the bay, and the bay would take me from right here to here, or if I wanted to, I could travel down here, and here it is right here. Here's the bay, and here's that river I was just talking about. So here's St. John. It's on the Bay of Fundy. It's a huge port. St. John right here goes, there's a huge river. Huge river between Canada and America in this section right here. And St. John controls most of the things that go through it. So, big city. What was discussed at the meeting, the city council meeting I went to, it was focused on opening a previously closed 4-lane highway. From where I live, there's 700,000 people in my city alone, and 5 million within 20 minutes, right? So 4-lane roads are kind of small. In my experience, Detroit, I'm driving on roads, 5, 6. I've driven on a 7-lane road before. That was crazy. I'll say that was a bit extreme, but it's still crazy to think that they're just now reopening 4-lane roads um, to accommodate increased traffic because there's so many cars. Um, it's a small city, compared to a metropolis or like say, I guess like St. Louis or Detroit or I don't know Oregon, Portland. I mean to say, not Oregon, but the city wanted to explore the possibility of improving active transport. Um, Obviously, being a big city, relative to New Brunswick, big city, they have to um, uh, make way for things like biking, walking, sidewalks. But the city's old, right? It's 250 years old. How do you add a sidewalk, right, on both sides of a street if on both sides of the street there's already buildings, right? So you can't you either put a sidewalk and decrease the amount of space there is on the road, or you have to find a way to push back the houses. So a lot of the history of the city itself has a lot to do with the discussion. Also, New Brunswick is bilingual, right? It's the only province that's bilingual, um, and they have a very big Indian population that is indigenous Indian, Native American, or probably a better way to say that. They also do have Indians from India, but the population before people who ventured into the North Americas came. It was primarily Native Americans. Obviously, it wasn't just one tribe. It was probably hundreds, thousands, but they've got special abilities, special tax breaks and stuff. They get extra laws. They can hunt year round, stuff like that. So they, on top of juggling, the old city, right, and its old infrastructure, they also have to make sure that they're not infringing on the native settlements, stuff like that. The meeting addressed concern about traffic safety, community needs, and the environmental impact of road train changes. It's a very small city, like I said, but it's like there's like it's so hard to explain. There's a million trees, right? A billion trees, but it almost seems like there's no trees. So all of the roads they put, I mean, obviously they eliminate trees, but it's almost like there already weren't any trees. Anyway, who was there? Okay, so at this city council meeting, we had Councilor Harris, and I've highlighted all the people so that you could see that a little easier. Councilor Harris and Councilor Stewart were there, and they were key in moving the decision forward, actively participating in the discussions and voting on recommendations. Then you had the director, Tim O'Reilly, and he oversaw the project, and he led the presentation at Town Hall. And then he also responded to community concerns and answered a few questions. And in this class, I one time said something like, blah, 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 person faced criticism from so-and-so. And then I was left a note saying I should answer, what are the concerns. So the concerns in this case, just so I can cover myself on all ends, so I'm not leaving any questions to be asked at the end. Concerns had to do with how much will this cost? Is this coming out of local taxpayers' pockets? And really just stuff like that. The community wanted it, but they didn't want to necessarily have to pay for it in that sense. And it's not like a selfish thing, like we want this but we don't want to pay for it. Canada as is facing something called their prime minister has something, I don't remember the name of it. It's a certain tax. Carbon tax, something like that, and they can't, they're being taxed $1,000, $2,000 every year, so that they could reduce their spending or something, and well, obviously it's costing them a lot of money, so it's individually, that is, individual people are losing $2,000 each year, and then they're getting rebates for like $1,500, so they're still losing money at the end of each year. Mayor Reen and Deputy Mayor, they were involved in the decision making, but they did have to leave early. Their absence led to some public criticism, obviously because this is a big deal to a lot of people who live in the town. They don't want to be in traffic. They're spending so much time in traffic. They want the mayor who they elected to do something about it. So they kind of had an issue with this, but the mayor was instrumental, and he arranged a follow up. Community members were there. and they were able to express their views, and I'll get to that in a minute. And they offered feedback on the Heatherway, and that's the name of the highway, if I hadn't mentioned that already. And engaging in discussions with the city officials. Okay, here's what I learned. I learned about community engagement. The public showed up in large numbers, huge numbers. There was a lot of them. And when I say a lot, I mean, 50, 60, 70 people. That's a lot of people for, just a town hall, a meeting, a city council meeting. And the feedback was overwhelmingly in favor of opening the road to 4 lanes. We have all these lanes. Let's use them, right? So another thing was safety and traffic flow. The importance of balancing vehicular traffic, cars, trucks, semis, and pedestrian safety. So this would be the bikes, the walking, sidewalks, stuff like that, was central to the discussion. They obviously want these roads to be safer, but not only for cars, more convenient, but also for people who are walking. And I would just, I'm from the city. I don't really see a lot of people biking in Detroit. I don't. There are sidewalks. There's a lot of walking, not a lot of biking. I do see a lot of bikers here, and they really grind my gears because they will drive in the center of my lane, and I'm trying to go. I don't know. Let's say I'm trying to go 35 kilometers an hour. What is that? 20 miles an hour, and the bikers are going probably 4 miles an hour. It was confusing I sometimes I wonder how the bikes are even, not falling over because of how slow they're going. And so, yeah, I mean, I want the bikers to be safe, just like the people in St. John, but I want to be able to balance the traffic and the pedestrian safety. And that was central to the discussion. That was that was the reason we were there. Active transportation, while the immediate focus was on road use for vehicles, the meeting also highlighted the need for future plans. So this kind of goes back to the fact that it's an old city, right? So when we planned things in 1795, we didn't plan for 50,000 people and 50,000 motor vehicles, So I mean, they wanted to make sure, and I'm not saying they're going to come out with a new type of vehicle. It's going to take up more space, more space than horses and boats and stuff like that. But I'm saying for future plans to incorporate active transportation options. So, if I build a road now, like with all this, our local taxpayer money, if we build a road now, let's make sure we leave some space, on each side, something like that. And so I noticed that was something they wanted to, and it struck me as interesting that they were so keen and aware, and they knew exactly what they wanted before they went into this meeting. And yeah, and so the next thing I learned was government responsiveness. The council acted quickly to accommodate public opinion and address the issue with urgency by scheduling a follow-up meeting shortly after the town hall. And I think this has to do with the mayor and the deputy mayor having to leave early based on the commitments. But they did have to. They did show initiative by saying, okay, guys, we've kind of dropped the ball on this. But and that's something I learned was that governments in groups of people, they are responsible for people, the individual. I wouldn't say me because I'm American and I don't pay taxes here. I'm just visiting with my wife. But I would say that the citizens here, the government is responsible for the citizens. They are serving the public. And I think that this kind of showed, this right here, it kind of showed some initiative. It showed some, trustworthiness, stuff like that. And I'm getting a little long right now. I'm at 14 minutes. I've got two more slides. I will be very quick. I will not take much longer. What are the plans for active transportation, biking, walking? There's a few questions I have. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to make it so they can bike over these huge bridges? There's a huge highway and you have to bike over it, right? So, or you have to drive over it. How are you going to get across it if you can't drive? You don't have a car. So, how will the city address ongoing safety concerns in the area? Crosswalks, stuff like that. People driving quickly. People, how are they going to, what is their response to that going to be? I know it's kind of a open-ended question, a lot of interpretations, but that's kind of is a simple one. Will there be further opportunities for public input as the project progresses? This question's simple. Are they going to let us keep talking, keep asking, keep kind of following up? Hey, what are you doing here? I see that you've made progress on here, but I want to know, whatever. How will the city balance the needs of the community with future development in the area? How are you going to benefit us with future development. So I guess this question kind of plays on a few more of the other ones. Like, what are you going to do for us? How are you gonna balance our needs and also make sure that you're not slacking on developing the area? Finally, what measures will be taken to minimize environmental impact during construction? Because if we go back, St. John, like all of this, it's all forest, all of it. I live here. The drive from here to here, it's 50 minutes long, and it's all forest. The drive from here to here is an hour long, hour and a half long, really, and it's all forest. It's crazy. So what are they going to do to make sure that they're not really impacting the environment? Why should you care? I want to be quick with this one because I don't want to take too much time. I don't know. There wasn't a time limit for this assignment, so I felt kind of good about that. I got to take my liberties. I really did enjoy this, so I want to make sure that I'm covering all my bases. So community safety, it's important, obviously. Ensuring the safety of residents, drivers, pedestrians, bikers, walkers. I mean, it's a key concern. It should be the most important thing for us to vote on for the community, particularly in the terms of road crossings, traffic speeds, and pedestrian routes. This is biking, walking, sidewalks. There's not many sidewalks, right? So the next thing would be public engagement and transparency. You want your people who are above you to listen, and you want them to do what you ask. You were the ones who put them in that position, right? So you should be the ones who have control over what they're doing, right? And if it's something I learned in this class, like if you elect a representative, they need to represent your needs, right? If I represent Donald Trump, he needs to do what I need him to do, right? He is not doing it for himself. If I became a lawyer, right? I'm representing other people. If they have an issue, they give the issue to me, and I work with it while they're doing their own thing, because I can't be responsible for fixing a road, right? If I'm doing carpentry, like I'm not going to go fix a road, right? Somebody else should do that. I'm already benefiting the country of Canada or whatever if I was a citizen. Infrastructure and city growth. As cities grow, upgrading roads and improving traffic flow is essential. I mean, population increases, more cars on the road, more jobs, stuff like that. Simple. Not really going to stay here much longer. On this point, balancing vehicular and active transportation. I've mentioned this a few times. Integrating both car and active transportation is crucial for creating sustainable and livable city. When you think of a city, you got to think of people. That's what a city is. People, business, roads, driving, large population. You don't think of a highway, right? You don't think of just a highway where you get from point A to point B, but right in the middle of that highway should be all the people. So it's important. Community safety, the public engagement and transparency, infrastructure, city growth, transportation between vehicle and active. You want the people to be comfortable in the city that they are living in, because the people who are in the city pay the city taxes, right? So if you want the city to keep getting taxes, keep getting money, the people have to be comfortable, obviously. And finally, as we close, we're going to talk about long-term impact on quality of life. This is such a simple one. This is like a smooth brain one. You can have a smooth brain, no wrinkles in your brain, and understand this. Long-term impact on quality of life. This is the most crucial thing I believe this is the most crucial thing to the people. The people, they want to not spend an hour in traffic. They want to not have car accidents where their family members are either hurt pretty bad, or their lives are stolen completely because something as simple as opening up a new road, or putting a sidewalk in, or improving crosswalks, or making crosswalk stop signs more you can see them better. I'm sorry, I was blanking on the word there for a second, but accessible, right? These decisions will impact daily life in the neighborhood. They will improve accessibility. They will improve mobility, how to get to point A to point B, and they will improve overall community well-being, right? There's lots of cities in New Brunswick and in Canada. Canada's huge, right? If you want people to stay in your city, then it should be important to listen to the things that they're saying, right? And if the question is why should you care, as not directed towards the city, but directed towards you, as in the general audience. The long-term impact on quality of life, speaking up to things that are important to you, um, while it gives you the ability to obviously have your voice be heard, and it gives you could be the person to say this is important to me. I want to get this done, and then it benefits so many people. So it is very important to care. Very important to attend these city council um, meetings, to watch them, to keep up to date, stay up to date with your local politics. What are they doing? What are they talking about? What is the most important thing that's happening in your city? Well, in Detroit, it's pretty big, so probably a lot of things. In St. John, well, obviously this, right? The highway that everybody's been, nagging the city about. Please fix this highway. Um, so that's my city council presentation. It was a lot of fun to probably not to whip this together, but to be there, to be engaged in it, to be a part of it, to see what's going on the other side of things. I think that it was very fun. I hope this was very communicative. I hope I answered a lot of questions. I hope I didn't leave any questions open-ended. And so if you want to see it, it was they did live stream it December 3rd or December 2nd. I think it was a Monday, 2024. So you'll find that on there if you're interested in that. And there's a few more as well. But yep,